Hey guys, and welcome back for another crochet tutorial. So today we are going to make a Santa hat. So this one is specifically going to be for a small child, but this pattern is very easy and can be translated to any size very easily. So I will have the instructions in the description box below, and let's get started. So the things you will need are your yarn, and I have some white worsted weight, and I have this red color, and this is from Red Heart Soft, and it is called Really Red, and it is just the prettiest, I think. It's like a perfect Christmassy red. I'm using a 5mm hook, a ruler, and of course a darning needle. So the first thing we're going to work on is the brim. And the way that this looks with the raised and the lower and then the raised again, this is called ribbing, and it actually allows your hat to have good stretch. So that's why you always will see hats that have this ribbing, either it's knit or crochet. So you want to go get your color of choice. So I'm using white, and we are going to make a slip knot. Okay, so now we're going to start with a slip knot. So we're just going to take our yarn and put it over our finger, loop it again, okay, so because I'm doing a child's hat, I'm going to be doing a smaller brim, and I'm going to be doing 9 chains. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And then on your second from hook, you're going to go in and do single crochets. So your single crochet is in through the loop, yarn over, back through the loop, yarn over, back through 2 loops. Okay, so this is my first pass, and now once you get to the end of that row, then you're going to chain 1 and then turn your work, and then you're going to start again with single crochets, but the difference is that you're going to go into the back loop only. So there's, you know, if you normally you go through both loops at the same time. So this is normal, but we're not going to go normal. We're going to skip that one and go right into the back loop, and then do single crochets again. So it's a little bit tricky and you have to really pay attention, but you have to basically pierce the stitch in a way. It's hard to look at the stitches and pay attention to the camera. So, and again, you're going to do 8 single crochets, and then you're going to finish off on that single or that chain 1 that you did. And you kind of have to really get your, oops, try again. Okay. So there is your second row. Well, third, I guess, if you count the chains. And then you're going to do your chain 1, turn your work, and then go back into your back loop only. Once you've done 3 or 4, then you will start to see the ribbing form. So there we go. So as you can see, that's like our first peak. So you're going to keep going with this by chaining 1 at the end and turning your work and doing back loop only. And once your work measures about 18 inches in length, that's when you can come back to the video. So with the magic of television, I have already made 18 inches. And now I'm going to sew the 2 ends together. So normally I would say leave your ball of yarn attached because we're not done with the white yet, but because I wanted to show you the beginning of the brim, so I had to unattach it. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach the white again. So you can use a darning needle if you like. I'm just going to attach it and put a knot there just so that I know that it's secure. And then we're going to put the 2 ends together, matching it up. And then put our needle through the first stitch of both ends. And then bring the yarn around, grab it, and pull it through. So we're just doing slip stitches. So go through both sides, grab your yarn, bring it through, and then slip stitch. Okay. And that's your last one. Okay, so because there is a seam now, then you're going to designate this as the wrong side. So you're going to flip it. And then we're going to start with the hat body. So because the edge is not beautiful, we're going to go around the brim of the hat and put in single crochets, and this will put some nice stitches there for us, so when we go to attach the red, it will be a little bit more seamless. Well, seamless. It'll just look a lot more nicer because the transition will. So you're just going to go around the whole brim and make spots for stitches. It's not really, there's not really a place to put your stitches, but you're just going to make a spot for them. Now, if you're going to follow a pattern, you know, obviously the people who make the pattern are going to be like, you know, you need to follow this pattern, otherwise it's not going to work out. But I don't necessarily agree with that because it is a hat and it will stretch. So when I made the hat, it was 55 inches around, and that fits my daughter, who's 3. So you would say that her head is the size of a small child's. And I did 55 stitches around. But you can do 55 to 60. You know, because this pattern is so versatile, you can basically take the brim and make it and just measure it as you go. So wrap it around your head, wrap it around whoever's head you're making it for, and once you feel like you're at a good size, then that's it. You know, that's the most important thing, is that the brim fits nicely. This is what it's going to look like when you go all the way around. So I'll meet you back when we get to, when I finish this row. Okay, so now once you get to the end, you're just going to go into your first stitch and then put a slip stitch and then chain 1 and then, okay, so now you're ready to start with your red. This is going to be the back. And once you tuck your ends in, then hopefully it will look a lot neater. Okay, so because we start with that one seam, we're going to join the red at that so that we can continue the seam up that same line. So you're going to go to your seam, put your hook in, grab the really red, pull it through, and then we are going to tie a knot. And I'm going to tie it twice, especially this silky stuff. This silky stuff can easily come untied. Okay, so now we will start with the double crochets. So the first thing you're going to do is do 2 double crochets, and that will count as your first stitch, and then start double crocheting. And if you want to tuck these ends in, you can take these ends and just bring them along the edge there, and every time you go to do a double crochet, you can do it right over top, and then you don't have to tuck those ends in later. So it just saves you a second. Okay, so double crochet is yarn over, through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so now you're just going to go around through all those white stitches and do 1 round of red double crochets, and I'll meet you back at the end of the row. Okay, so now once you get to the end of your row, you go into your chain 3 and you do a slip stitch, and you do 2 chains, and that will be your first stitch. Now from here you're going to repeat this first row of red, and you're going to do that for 2 more rows. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 2 more rows, and I will meet you back when you have a total of 3 rows. Okay, so now once you get to the end of that row, you're going to do your slip stitch as normal. So now I have 3 rows, and now we're going to start doing our decrease. Let's do your 2 chains, go into your first stitch and do a double crochet, but instead of going through the 2 loops, you're going to go through 1, and you're going to keep that on your hook, and then you're going to yarn over again, and you're going to go into the next stitch, and then you're going to yarn over again, and you're going to go through the first one again, and then you're going to yarn over again, and you're going to go through all 5 loops. And then you are going to count 8. So now we're going to do another decrease. And again, yarn over, through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, you go through the first loop, yarn over, through the next stitch, yarn over, and then you're going to be left with 5 and the kitty underneath you, and then take that stitch through all 5, and then go in and do your 8 again. So every time you do 8, you are going to decrease on the 9th. And then once you get done this row, the next row will be a row of just straight crochets. So I will meet you back once you're done the row after this one. So the next row after this, don't decrease any stitches. Okay, so basically from here, you're going to want to follow the pattern that I've written down below. So the hat that I made before ended up with 15 rows of red, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to end up with 15 rows of red. Depending on how many stitches you started off with your white row, and then as your decrease goes, you're going to start with your decrease of 8, and then you're going to do 1 row of just regular double crochets, and then that next row is going to be decrease every 7 stitches, and then another row of double crochets with no decrease, and then another row of 6. So there's no right or wrong way to make this hat. If it's a little bit longer, then that's cool too. And if it's a little bit shorter, that's fine. It's a Santa hat. It doesn't have to be perfect. So my hat that I made was 15 rows of red, but depending on how many stitches you made with your white and the decrease and how many stitches you end up with in the end, by the time you get to the top of the hat, you're going to want to leave about like 10 to 15 stitches and then sew those together. So at the top of the hat, I had 10 or 15 stitches, I'm not exactly sure how many. I took my darning needle and I just took my red thread and went through all of the stitches and just cinched them together. And then I made a pom-pom and just attach that on. And then that's pretty much it. And then you have a beautiful Santa hat, which is very warm, and you could put this on your child to go to school if you wanted to. And yeah, I think it turned out pretty beautiful. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please like and don't forget to subscribe. And if you do decide to make this hat, don't hesitate to hashtag charmedbyashley so I can see your beautiful works of art. And don't forget to check out my other crochet tutorials. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!